Hey kids, I just got off the phone with the big man upstairs, and he told me that I need to clear up a few things around here. So, without further ado, here's 3 examples of malarkey that you might be doing. I think all of us have had their faces stuck to a textbook minutes before an exam at least once in our lives. This revision technique has probably existed for as long as exams and written languages have existed. I'm sure the ancient Egyptians did the same thing as we do now. However, cool as this may be, it does show us how outdated this type of revision method is. Are we using the same computers from the 1990s? No! Technology has improved and we have moved on from those old beasts. So, why are we still stuck with something that has been outdated for thousands of years? Well, we shouldn't, and I'll tell you why. Well, actually, I'll tell you why a smarter person says we shouldn't use such a technique. Quoting from a paper from Professor Danlosky, where he and his colleagues analyzed hundreds of papers on a multitude of revision techniques, based on the available evidence, we rate rereading as having low utility. Although rereading is relatively economical with respect to time demands, when compared with some other learning techniques, rereading is also typically much less effective. The relative disadvantage of rereading to other techniques is the largest strike against rereading and is the factor that weighed most heavily in our decision to assign it a rating of low utility. Basically, he is saying that rereading has some limited evidence that it works and it improves retention, but especially if you compare it to other techniques that you could be doing, rereading is pretty much a waste of time. Another technique that is used all too often. It may seem effective to some. After all, you can easily go through 20 or 30 pages of a textbook in an hour using this technique. However, this technique develops a focus on individual points and deters links between subjects, which are essential for higher mark questions across a range of subjects. In the same paper, Professor Danlosky found that picking out individual phrases in fluorescent yellow, green, or pink can in fact hinder your intake of knowledge. When students are using a highlighter, they often focus on one concept at a time and are less likely to integrate the information they are reading into a larger whole. That could undermine their comprehension of that material. But he's not suggesting that highlighters should be abandoned, as he recognizes that they are safety blankets for many students, and they can still be useful to highlight some important words or phrases. However, if you have simply highlighted the whole page, then he is saying that it will not help at all and can even give a false sense that a student has worked hard. This one is a bit more nuanced, as evidence around it is rather equivocal. There are some studies that show that students who summarize well perform slightly better on exams. But, as one can imagine, this is quite hard to test as the quality of notes varies massively between students. Nevertheless, Danlosky still didn't think it was that good of a technique, as he said, on the basis of the available evidence, we rate summarizing as low utility. It can be an effective learning strategy for learners who are already skilled at summarizing. However, many learners, including children, high school students, and even some undergraduates, will require extensive training, which makes the strategy less feasible.